Hi, welcome to the fourth episode of A Step Greener. Today I'm going to talk about my energy provider, see what impact they have on the environment, and if there's a more sustainable alternative. Like a lot of households in the UK, my energy journey has been a bit turbulent in the last year and a half. 18 months ago, I was with Pure Planet. They had good reviews, they offered competitive rates, and they promised to deliver 100% renewable energy. Unfortunately, what I didn't know at the time was that they were partially owned by BP, who provided most of their energy. They didn't actually generate any renewable energy themselves. Instead, they acted as a middleman between customers and actual green energy providers, which isn't great, and unfortunately, then things got worse. In the summer of 21, gas, which accounts for almost 40% of the UK electricity generation, trebled in price. Unfortunately, in the UK, we have a wholesale energy market, which means the cost of renewable electricity generation is tied directly to whichever fossil fuel needs to be burnt to balance the grid. So, as the cost of gas production increased, so too the cost of renewable energy production. Unfortunately, this led to a run on the small-scale renewable energy providers with fixed-price contracts. It's in moments like this that we can look to Ofgem, the energy regulator, and the UK government to show strong leadership. Instead of intervening, they decided to let these independent renewable energy providers go bankrupt and allocate most of their customers to the Big Six, which are large, predominantly fossil fuel consuming energy providers. This had a devastating effect on the competition in the UK energy market. Customers never lost their supply of electricity or gas, but most of the small independent renewable energy providers ceased trading. We got bounced over to Shell, who aside from the logo and their occasional atrocity in Nigeria that manages to make it onto our news, I didn't know too much about. Big win for corporate branding there. It turns out they're a company with over 100 years experience in extracting and selling energy. As you can imagine, most of this hasn't been in a sustainable, clean or renewable way. But to give them a fair shake, we should probably look into their history to understand their practices and get a bigger sense of the wider impact that they have had. Shell was founded in 1907 through the merger of Royal Dutch Petroleum Company of the Netherlands and the Shell Transport and Trading Company of the United Kingdom. By 1920, Shell would become the largest producer of oil in the world. Shell was very active expanding its international business, and in 1937 started business operations in Nigeria. We'll get back to that later. In 1964, Shell was a partner in the world's first commercial sea transportation of liquefied natural gas, heralding a new age of global gas transportation and consumption. By 2021, Shell's revenue made it the 15th largest company in the world, producing 3.7 million barrels of oil a day with 44,000 service stations worldwide, a titan of industry who helps keep the global economy spinning, committed to providing fossil fuels to customers no matter the challenges or risks. Of course, there are a few more points of interest in Shell's history that should also be noted. These, however, don't feature as prominently on their website. In 1952, the Iraqi Petroleum Company, whose majority shareholders were Shell, Royal, Exxon and BP, offered financial aid to the Sultan of Muscat to raise an armed force to suppress part of Oman. This led to the 1954 Jebel Akhdar War, which lasted for 5 years of bloody, stalemated conflict, until the British Army directly intervened, won the war for the Sultan and his coalition of energy producers, occupied Oman and subjected his people. In 1977, Shell continued to sell Nemagon, a pesticide which resulted in the sterilisation and premature death of workers who used it, even after they were informed of these dangers by the US government. In 1981, they began commissioning reports on climate change, with recommendations for immediate action coming as early as 1986. Shell's analysis warned of the disappearance of specific ecosystems and habitat destruction, predicted an increase in runoff destructive floods and inundation of low-lying farmland, and said that new sources of fresh water will be required to compensate for changes in precipitation. All told, Shell concluded the changes may be the greatest in recorded history. result of this can be seen when they redesigned part of their $3 billion North Sea natural gas platform in 1989, raising its height by 2 meters to accommodate an anticipated sea level rise due to global warming. Yet, instead of making this information about impending global climate cataclysm public, Shell will become an active member of the Global Climate Coalition. This group produced educational videos about how more CO2 in the atmosphere would increase crop yields, criticized the process of international climate organizations, challenged climate models, and launched personal attacks on scientists and environmental activists. In 1990, Shell requested the assistance of a paramilitary police unit to respond to peaceful protests in the Niger Delta. The police attacked the village with guns and grenades, killing 80 people and burning 595 houses to the ground. In 2021, Shell admitted to manufacturing routers, EV charging stations, and battery storage systems from conflict minerals. These metals are mined in conditions of armed conflict and human rights abuses, profits from which help fund the warlords terrorizing these regions. Over the last 100 years, Shell has helped fund wars, supported military dictatorships, and encouraged the bloody suppression of peaceful protests. They've done all this, helped them extract tens of billions of barrels of crude oil and natural gas to be burnt as fuel. And for the last 40 years, Shell has been very much aware of the impact that burning these fossil fuels will have on the earth. Over this period, they have taken numerous precautions to directly reduce the impact that these catastrophic changes will have on their own business practices, while simultaneously waging a disinformation war with governments, NGOs, and scientists who've been trying to share this very same information with the wider world. Because of these horrific practices, I feel really good about ending our contract with Shell. We're now with Ecotricity, who's a UK-based energy provider. Through a mixture of wind and solar installations, which they own, they're able to generate 100% renewable energy. They're also certified vegan, which is great. They don't have any shareholders, and they pledge to invest their profits back into expanding their renewable energy infrastructure. They're also recommended by Triodos Bank, Friends of the Earth, and Ethical Consumer. So, all good there. The changeover was quite easy, and under the current price cap, we'll be paying about the same amount for our energy. We're also, which is much more important, not supporting a company that's committed to the degradation and destruction of the environment, which is good. So I would ask you to really look into your energy provider and see if there's a more sustainable option out there. We live in a consumer society, and so long as there is a customer base and profits to be had in environmentally destructive practices, then there'll be companies that engage in these. But the inverse is also true. And the more customers that demand renewable energy and sustainable production, the more companies that will transition to, invest in, and innovate in these fields. And we together can all be part of this. So why not give it a try? 5 minutes looking into your energy provider can make a real difference. So thanks for dropping by, and until next time, best of luck with your journey.